Good Friday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Hope your weekend is off to a great start. Browns still on the bye. Players getting a little time away. Coaches going to work, trying to get things figured out. Dolphins on the other side of that bye a week from Sunday. No Browns game this week, though. Let's welcome in Jeff Lloyd from the Lockdown Browns podcast. Jeff, I know you've dealt with this on your Lockdown Browns podcast. Who do you think shined over the first half of the season for the Browns?
I think there's some players, and this is probably where some fans, knowing the team is 3-5, probably walk away a little, upset, a little disgruntled. But you've seen some growth here from some players that we didn't think we were going to see. I don't think anybody thought Martin Emerson Jr. was going to play nearly as much as he has to this point. But the Browns look to be extremely deep at the cornerback position right now, even with the injuries to Denzel Ward. He's long, he's feisty, he's a willing tackler, which the Browns don't necessarily have at the corner position. He's been a revelation to this point. Ethan Posick, you talk about a guy who was such an under-the-radar signing, and we were talking about the transition from J.C. Treader to Nick Harris finally getting his opportunity to be the starting center for this team. One play into the preseason, and that's over for him. And you have a player in Posick who you brought in. Thought maybe he would be a nice system fit. Obviously, you always feel there's going to be a bump in play when you get an offensive lineman. You can get him into the hands of Bill Callahan. Ethan Posick has been outstanding to this point. And the growth overall of Donovan Peoples-Jones here in year 3, it's come along really, really quickly here in year 3. I know a lot of talk was coming into year 2 from the summer about, how well Donovan Peoples-Jones had looked over the summer. But then the 2021 season started. There was Odell, there was Jarvis, obviously there was roadblocks for a path to success. But now, even with Amari Cooper, better receiver than both of those guys were in their time with the Cleveland Browns, Amari Cooper here doing his thing. Donovan Peoples-Jones has been ridiculously good over the last 5 weeks. 4.5 receptions per game, 70 receiving yards per game. It's been really, really great to see these young guys step up. The Browns are going to start to get healthier here, get some players back, but they certainly have some guys who held down the fort while players were out.
Yeah, and Donovan Peoples-Jones, is he a 2? Is he a 3? I can't. That I don't know. I do know he's the type of guy that all good teams have. Makes contested catches. If you need 6 yards for a first down, he's 6.5 yards, not 5.5 yards from the quarterback. He just does the things that extend drives that maybe get overlooked sometimes.
Without question. And I think the thing is, maybe you don't even say if he's a 1 or a 2, because you figure Amari's your 1. Njoku's probably that number 2 receiver. But Donovan Peoples-Jones slides right in there. And the other thing is, very willing blocker. And this is a key for the Browns. And this has been a key for the entire Kevin Stefanski regime. Remember there were times in 2020, everybody wondered where Rashard Higgins was. It was about blocking. And if you weren't going to do it, you weren't going to put your heart and effort into it, they weren't really necessarily going to play you. Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's got the physical makeup, he's got the size, he's got the arm length to be a solid, willing blocker and gets the job done. He gets you the opportunity to stay on the field more often, gets the opportunity to get these balls. David Njoku, Amari Cooper, as featured as they are, the coverage is going to flow that way, and you get a lot more opportunities for one-on-ones. You get a lot more opportunities to get Donovan Peoples-Jones open in space. Great athlete. He's only had 1 drop to this point. You just absolutely got to love what you've gotten from number 11. And, we'll figure out the rest of that room between Woods, between Schwartz, of course, between Bell. But I think the Browns know where they are, solid at in that room. 1, 2, Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones. These guys are just straight up getting it done.
Yep. This is kind of interesting, too. One word to describe each NFL team right now. This is from the Bleacher Report. We're going to look at all of them from the AFC North. So the Browns, they say treading. No matter your opinion on Deshaun Watson, he'll be starting immediately when he's available. They desperately needed the recent victory over Cincinnati. They have to keep winning as well. For the Ravens, they say suspicious. Rashad Bateman done for the year. That will definitely hurt the Ravens. And obviously, Bleacher Report not sold on that. The Bengals, they go with unsatisfying. And again, they've been a little bit of a disappointment at 4-4. And the Steelers, they say recalibrating. And again, trying to figure it out. Jeff, I think all those are pretty accurate and fair. If the Browns play like we thought they would, moving forward, they still have a chance to do what they want to do, which is make playoffs.
Well, this next 3-game stretch is absolutely crucial, and it's going to start in Miami. You and I were talking before we hit the button here. We feel the Buffalo game. Look, the Buffalo game is literally like, climbing, Mount Everest at this point, going into Buffalo. Everybody wants to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think I've seen a team better this year than the Buffalo Bills, even though, they are a team with a loss or two, unlike the Philadelphia Eagles. But Buffalo's really, really good. Tampa is going to be a wild card. Will they figure it out? Or is it just too far apart? And, is Tom Brady, some of it, in his head with his personal life, sadly? Is some of it the fact that eventually age was going to creep up? We'll see the way it plays out. By Miami, Waddle, Hill, that's gone better than I think most people thought. I really thought it was going to be something where you had two guys that maybe canceled each other out because they were so similar in their play style. But Tua Tagovailoa to this point has made it work, and it's worked really, really efficiently. But the Ravens, Bateman out. You look at that Ravens game, the Browns held Lamar Jackson to 9 completions. They held them to under 4 yards a carry. You figure if you had Deshaun Watson that day, you win. You've already beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. The next time you play them, you're going to have Deshaun Watson. You figure that's an easy, winnable game for you. Same thing with the Bengals, even though it's going to be on the road. And what you saw with the Bengals game is the same thing you see every time the Browns play Joe Burrow. They get after him early, and then Joe Burrow doesn't have the time or doesn't have, basically the guts to let the long developing routes happen. So he's just getting the ball out of his hands as quickly as he can. The Browns have kind of been his Achilles heel to this point. Browns, if they can find a way to go 2-1 here, you get it to 5-6 when Deshaun Watson comes in. You have the 3 the 3 division games. You're going to have the Commanders. You're going to have the Saints on the schedule. And of course, the Houston Texans. All of those games on paper look winnable. It's inconceivable to say, Deshaun Watson should go 6-0 over that stretch. But if you can get Deshaun back here with the team being at 5-6, I think it gives you a really, really good shot to take the North. You're sitting there at 2-1, Cincinnati 0-3. So the opportunity is certainly there for the Browns down the stretch.
Yeah, without question. Would agree with you wholeheartedly. All right, let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, everyone. It's always interesting to talk about the Browns' path to the playoffs. A couple of weeks ago, it felt like the best path was to win a division. But looking at Baltimore's schedule, they do not play a team with a winning record as of now and have a 2-game lead on us. And they own an early tiebreaker against us based on their beating us. The Chargers, Dolphins, Pats, Jets, and Colts are ahead of us for the wild card, and we've lost to 3 of those teams. But they all have flaws and are beatable in a given week. But they are ahead of us for a reason. What do you think is our best path to get into the playoffs? Beating the Dolphins looks extremely important. Really, it's a must-win after looking ahead. Thanks for your comments. Bye now.
Appreciate all of the voicemails. I will let you go. I have a good idea of what you're going to say. The dogs are ready. That's all right.
Oh, it must be time for the deliveries. We must have had the Amazon guy dropping by here. It's going to be the division. It is. There's, and look, for Baltimore, you look at the record. Sure, it's believable. They have a 2-game lead. But as we said, Rashard Bateman out for the season. Mark Andrews dinged up. And the thing where this Ravens team, unlike past Ravens teams, and even last year when they didn't have the running backs, they don't just have a normal, functional running game other than what Lamar Jackson brings you. They made the move on defense, and look, Roquan Smith, fine linebacker. But I'm not sure necessarily that the problem was on the defensive side of the ball for the Ravens. I just don't know if the Ravens have enough playmakers right now. And if you can't run the ball, you take Bateman out of the equation, and you saw what the Browns did. The Browns said, all right, well, 89 is not going to beat us because he's made a living out of beating us for years now. So the Browns made it a focal point to take him out of the game. And the Ravens offense didn't really do much that day. So I'm still going to say it's the division because, the Browns, you want to talk about getting one of the top wild cards. You're talking about maybe winning out at this point because the way some of these teams are playing, which is inconceivable to think the Browns can do that. It's still the best path to the AFC playoffs for the Cleveland Browns is certainly to win the North.
Yeah, I would agree. And again, let's see how the Ravens play without Bateman. They went out and signed Deshaun Jackson to try to mitigate that, and he'll probably be elevated to the active roster. So they're searching for answers, I guess, what I'm getting at. This is from Next Gen Stats. It's kind of interesting. Yards after contact leader. Not a surprise. 674 Nick Chubb ahead of Derrick Henry and the rookie Dameon Pierce. Pierce gained more yards than expected on 14 of his 27 carries. That would have been last night. So 51% better than that. Nick Chubb is in that area regularly as far as yards better than expected. Chubb is that good.
There is no question about it. And I remember getting into this with, I guess it was many Tennessee Titan fans or Derrick Henry fans in general before the 21 season. And, other than Derrick Henry's size, I don't think there's anything Derrick Henry does as a running back that is even close to what Nick Chubb. He's just faster, more talented. He has better vision. He has better wiggle, has better escapability, better ability to break tackles. Nick Chubb is just a special, special player. And we were actually talking about this yesterday. It's a good time, for Browns fans. Granted, there's not a lot of overall team success, but you were talking about two players on this team, Nick Chubb on the offensive side of the ball, Myles Garrett on the defensive side of the ball, who are going to go down as two of the greatest Cleveland Browns ever. And, fans, you get to see this. Two players, same in age, going through this together. It's a fun thing to watch unfold. And luckily for me, I've been here with Locked On Browns for, since Myles Garrett's rookie season. So for me, it's just been an absolute blast to just cover and realize that you just have two foundational pieces, two huge franchise pieces. And these guys are going to go down as two of the best to ever wear that Brown jersey in Myles Garrett and Nick Chubb.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly. We refer to those kind of tweets as Nick Chubb is good, and we try to limit them to one or two a show so that it's not terribly redundant.
You just roll the screen for 60 minutes with them, yeah.
Exactly. Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. We will continue talking Browns. We head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sports4CLE will be right back. The Ohio Lottery partners in program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery, Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns with Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, Truth and Reason. This is Danielle calling. Really love your show. Hey, I was just wondering what you guys think about Takitaki. I've always liked him. I always wanted him to step up a little bit more, and it was great to see him finally step up and showcase. I think he has more strength than, we realized because he never really stepped out before. So with all that being said and all the second string guys, we need all our guys to really step up and have a, next man up mentality going forward. I think if we can just concentrate every game and just try to win our division and all that good stuff, and hopefully everything will continue to fall into place. I think if everyone just contributes. So what do you guys think about all the second string and all these other guys stepping up again? All right, thanks again, and I love your show. Bye.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails, Jeff. Takitaki, the more they put him on the field, the better he plays. I would think he's earned some more snaps.
Well, you got into a position, I think, Monday night, where, look, Deion Jones, I'm sure he's pretty well versed in the playbook, but he's not all the way there. So I think it was a situation of, Sione knows everything. I know we don't normally use him in this position, but if he knows what he's supposed to do, let's give it the shot. And I think the thing that stood out the most, and certainly what she was probably alluding to, was the linebackers had issues tackling this year. There's no way around it. And what you saw was him just getting to where the ball was, and just doing the simple act of breaking down. So he was ready to move left. He was ready to move right. He was ready to, take the fight right to the gut if the ball carrier was going that way. He just played smart. He played sound. He played intelligent. And what you saw it even more, on the strip sack, where he got in there, just using your body, using your brain as one, got the hand in there, knocked that ball loose. It was a huge, huge turnover at the time. Sione Takitaki, it's always kind of been this way though. As the Sam linebacker, you're not always on the field. You're usually the first linebacker to come off. I think everybody's always thought good things about Sione Takitaki, but we just never really got to see that much more expanded. There was the interception return a few years ago against Carson Wentz. Obviously had the big interception in the playoff game against Pittsburgh. But as far as an all-around game for Sione Takitaki, Monday night was his best one by far. And I think, again, like we were talking about earlier, sometimes when things work, even though guys come back, you may not get away from it. So Sione Takitaki looked really, really strong, and I have a feeling he's going to get, be in line for more reps here, and it's going to be interesting for him. Obviously, an opportunity for him to, bump up his value as he is a free agent after this year. So you like to see players, do the best they can for them, when given the opportunity.
Yeah. Listen, Brown's defense needed some help. He has kind of given a little bit of an injection of life into it. All good stuff. Again, this is I know you have dealt with this topic on the Locked On Browns podcast. What do you think the biggest surprises have been for the Browns?
I would say, negatively, that the defense took this long to get going. That is absolutely the first one. You saw Monday night, and you say to people, who was out of that game? Anthony Walker was out of that game. JOK was out of that game. Denzel Ward was out of that game. And you would say, well, this is the effort that came. You would have figured the Browns defense has been playing like this the entire season. It's certainly been the disappointing thing to this point is that the defense took this long to get it going. It certainly has cost this team a victory or two that they probably should have had. But then there's players. Look, Martin Emerson. Yes, he was the Browns' first overall draft pick, but he was drafted in the third round. I don't think anybody saw this type of play coming from this guy because I don't think anybody saw this guy probably getting this amount of reps this early. Again, Ethan Posick has been outstanding. Donovan Peoples-Jones has been outstanding. You've seen some guys really, really put out some effort this year. And it's hard with a team that is top heavy in stars like the Browns are. Everybody will talk about Petonio, Teller, Miles, Nick. You need those guys, middle of the roster guys who can, play a little bit above their level. And we've got to see that the last couple of weeks. And it's given the Browns the opportunity, and the Browns do this with players that are injured. They usually try to give them a little bit more time than needed. Some teams, you're 80%, that's great, let's go. The Browns are kind of like, well, if you're 80%, that means next week you'll be north of 90, so let's hold out for that. But in order to do that, guys have to step up, and the Browns have gotten a lot of that this year. It's really, really been nice to see. And you just see that the balance this roster has, and it looks like it's going to have for the foreseeable future.
So what do you think they need to do coming out of this bye in order to get those 2 wins that they need in the next 3 games? So that we both agree they need to get to 5 and 6 when Watson gets back. Means you probably have to beat the Dolphins. You probably have to beat the Buccaneers. What do they need to do coming out of the bye to get those 2 wins?
I think first things first, it's going to be health. Look, if you can get Wyatt Teller back, you can get Denzel Ward back, you can get Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah back, and you get all these guys back after such a positive that Monday night was against the Cincinnati Bengals. You're going to go down there, you're going to feature Nick Chubb. You're going to find a way to keep Kareem Hunt's touches high. The key to playing the Dolphins is make people spectators. Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, the more they're watching the game as opposed to playing, it benefits them. And it's got to get back to the pressure. You've got to stay after the quarterback. If you can do that to Joe Burrow and make his day difficult, you can pretty much do it to any quarterback in the NFL. The Dolphins line, it's okay. But again, when this Browns pass rushes like they are capable of, it doesn't matter what the other team has at the offensive line position. They're long. You saw Isaiah Thomas getting involved. You see Alex Wright making progressions. Jadeveon Clowney now back. When you do this and you're able to cover like the Browns have been, and you're making the quarterback get the ball out quicker, you can start to incorporate some blitzes into this. It's going to be, it's simplicity. It's you go down to Miami, make the game short, run it as much as possible, and get after Tua Tagovailoa. It's a simple recipe, I know. But, the Browns, as everybody else is trying to find a way to make this game more and more into the future, if the Browns can just try to stick with what worked football-wise in the past, for them right now, it's a recipe that probably works out really, really well for the way their team is constructed until Deshaun comes back.
Would agree with you wholeheartedly. As always, Jeff Lloyd, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Jeff.
Anytime, Dave. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Jeff Lloyd, make sure you catch him. Locked on Browns podcast. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, Brad Ward from the Orange and Brown Report, as well as the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. We're talking Browns when Sports4CLE returns. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE. 5 areas the Browns need to clean up during the bye week. This is from Dog Pound Daily. Number 5, red zone efficiency on the road. Let's welcome in Brad Ward from the Orange and Brown Report, as well as the host of the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. What do you think of it, Brad? Red zone efficiency.
Yeah, David Njoku kind of changes how you do things in the red zone. I thought they did a good job the other night of, the fade to Amari Cooper. They got creative on the goal line with the, the trick play sort of with Chubb and the taking the direct snap. So, yeah, it's certainly a point of emphasis, right? This team can't settle for field goals when they're in the red zone. If they want to hang with offenses like Miami's and Buffalo's and some of the teams that they face down the stretch, they've got to put 6 on the board when they're in the red zone. So absolutely a point of focus. And I think without Njoku here for a couple weeks, that changes things. So I think they did a good job the other night. I think if they build off that creativity, we saw an emphasis on going to the wide receivers much more on Monday Night Football. So I think that should continue probably.
Did you like the 6, 7, 8 offensive lineman formation? I would like to see that used more often. If you want to put 8 in the box, we're going to bring in 8 offensive linemen and move your guys around is kind of the counter, I think, to that.
Yeah, it was fantastic, right? 8 guys. Almost an unstoppable play. If you looked at the depth of the linebackers there was no chance they were getting up there to stop that. So really interesting approach. And, I think if it works in goal line situations, right, go back to it. So a lot of fun the other night. I really liked their game plan. It was a lot of fun.
All right, number 4, back to our 5 areas they need to clean up during the bye week. Number 4, stopping the run, and that's without question. They've been better the last 2 weeks, and I don't think it's a coincidence that their tackling has also been better.
Yeah, tackling has been much better. I point towards Takitaki, who has been playing really well, I think. And has earned more reps, earned a significant role on this defense. As JOK comes back, that's fine. I'm sure he'll be in there. But I think that, we've talked about this before. They're pretty light up there at times. And Takitaki has kind of countered that in the run game. He's been excellent, and I think that he needs to be in there. He's been good against the pass too, so he's held his own in both situations, and he stops the run so much better than some of these other guys. Deion Jones finding his footing finally, so certainly stuff to build on. 2 good weeks in a row, just kind of stack those defensive performances. And try to, continue that trend here where they made Cincinnati one-dimensional. Now they kind of do that to themselves a little bit too, but the Browns have successfully done that to them.
Yeah, I agree about Takitaki. He's the guy. I think he's earned more time on the field because he's where he's supposed to be, which you can't.
Yeah.
You couldn't say about a lot of the players before that Ravens game, particularly. Number 3, creating turnovers and limiting them on offense. I think this one probably moves to the top of the list. Every time Kevin Stefanski talks about turnovers, he said it's the one statistic that always points to. It's like 78% of the time, if you win the turnover battle, you win the game.
Yeah, 100%. And they've had some bad bounces earlier in the year. They knocked some balls loose, didn't get on them. We finally got a good bounce the other night, right? It looked like Mixon was going to cover up the strip sack. They kind of squeezed out of there until I got on it. So they're kind of due some luck that way a little bit. But the deflected ball by Myles Garrett, interception by A.J. Green, who always seems to be in the right spot for interceptions. I was glad to see him out on the field. I think that they once again build on what you've done the past 2.
Yep, I agree. Build on what you've done the past couple of weeks, and then you try to build on it and get it going further that way. Is an interesting stat. The Browns have not been +2 in any of their games so far. So obviously, that is a concern as well. Number 1, pass rush help for Myles Garrett. And again, that's a critical one. You saw them kind of using the big bodies against the Bengals. It was effective. I would also say help Myles Garrett out and move him around. Don't let the defense or the offense know where he's coming from all the time.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And they sent timely blitzes, and they also, it was interesting, Isaiah Thomas with a big sack in a big spot. They also moved Alex Wright inside in passing situations, and I thought he got some good push on the interior. So they're doing some different things with their younger guys, and that stuff seemed to work the other night. So once again, build off of that. They're going to have this, 2-week period here, a week period before they start getting ready for the Dolphins, where they can really dig into that tape and see what worked and what didn't. But I really liked that, Isaiah Thomas getting to the quarterback, knocking down a football, and moving Alex Wright inside, who did a good job, I think, getting pressure from the interior. So a couple different looks, and your young guys starting to step up a little bit. So that helped a ton, but you're going to have to blitz occasionally, I think. I don't think they're going to organically get home with 4 all the time. So the timely blitzes helps Myles a ton.
Yeah, I would agree, and I'd like them to blitz a little bit more than they probably want to as well. We skipped over one that's kind of an intangible, and it's avoid the finger pointing, eliminate the finger pointing, and that it almost goes without saying. That tends to happen when any unit is not performing as expected.
Yeah, if you're losing.
Yeah, again, you know how that goes. If losing creates a bunch of factions that all of them want to do the same thing. They all want to win. It's just a matter of trying to get on the same page and enabling them to do what they need to do to win. So that was actually number 2, is eliminate the finger pointing. The Browns currently have Pro Football Focus's highest grade offensive player as well as the highest graded defensive player. This has only happened in the PFF era, 2006 present. One other season, that was the Jets, 2009, when it was Nick Mangold and offensive lineman, and Darrelle Revis, defensive player. So Bitonio is the highest graded offensive player, 91.3. Myles Garrett, highest graded defensive player at 92.9. And Brad, Myles has been outstanding. People are nitpicking. He's been a nightmare for opposing offenses. Then again, having a little bit of trouble with Brad. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, we will continue talking with Brad Ward from the Orange and Brown Report, as well as the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery partners in program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery, Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
Sports4CLE continues. We continue talking Browns. Andrew Berry met with the media earlier this week, talked about the identity of this Browns defense.
So I think, what we saw on Monday night is, certainly a defense that was really strong at the line of scrimmage, was really pleased with how our front seven, really won the line of scrimmage pretty consistently on Monday night. And then I thought our back end, they really covered their tails off against a really good skill group, against Cincinnati. Look, I think, I mentioned this pretty much every year, that every year is unique. And, sometimes whether it's through personnel or injury or, just guys kind of growing, evolving in their career, things can look maybe a little bit different than you think coming into training camp. And I think that, certainly through the back half of this month, our defensive staff has done a nice job of continually leaning into things that we have done well in the early part of the season. I think that'll continue to progress as we get into the half.
And Brad, that defense has to be like it has been the last 2 weeks to give the Browns a chance. It's a different challenge coming up after the bye. The Dolphins are a speedier version of the Bengals, if you will. They don't have the big hammer in the backfield, although Wilson, who they just traded for, is probably more of a physical runner than they had.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup, right? And the secondary-wise, he talks about identity there, but like a lot of what you've seen from like MJ Emerson, his aggressiveness, although he's a rookie, his aggressiveness, his in-your-face, not backing down from any challenge. A little bit of the same from Greg Newsome. Some cocky arrogance that you kind of have to have as a corner. Guys flying around making plays, like that needs to be their identity on the defense. They need to be kind of an in-your-face group to find success and build off of that a little bit. And I think I would point to kind of like MJ Emerson as a guy that has although he's just a rookie, I'm not asking him to be a leader or anything, but a guy that would epitomize what you want your defensive identity to be, right? No challenge is too big for him, right? And he's right there in guys' faces. Doesn't matter if they're the best top-ranked wide receivers, and he's breaking up pass plays, and he's flying all over the field. And that's what this defense needs to be.
I agree, and this would be a good week for Denzel Ward to be back if he was healthy, because you've got Hill and after the bye, you've got Hill and Waddle. So
Waddle,
it'll be a challenge. 5 bold predictions after the bye. This from Dog Pound Daily. Number 5, the defense stays on task. That one has to happen for the Browns to have any chance at kind of moving the needle and keeping this rolling for them.
Yeah, no question about it, right? We talked about it. They stacked 2 good performances in a row, but really this one, and the ability, as I've kind of referenced, is so big this bye week too. Self-scout, realize where your weaknesses are, realize what your trends are, and build off of that. Identify what you do well and what you struggle at, and then make the appropriate adjustments. This defense has to be, as good and better all the way down the stretch if they want to remain relevant, Dave.
I agree wholeheartedly. All right, we're going to group 4 and 3 together on these 5 bold predictions. Amari Cooper and DPJ cross 1,000 yards. So they're saying both of them. Number 3, Deshaun Watson throws 18 touchdown passes in 6 starts. If he does that, they're going to be really, really successful.
Yeah, I think that both of those might be a little bit on the high side. Like, okay, I'll take Amari over 1,000. I would be really happy with like 800 or 850 from DPJ. I don't think they both need to go over 1,000. And I think that that Watson touchdown total of 18, so you're talking about 3 per game there. That's asking for a lot, right? I think that this team, with their run attack, right, can probably win some games without him throwing 3 touchdowns every week.
Oh, I would agree wholeheartedly with that. All right, number 2, Myles Garrett records 10 more sacks. So 10 sacks from now till the end of the season. And the number 1 bold prediction, Nick Chubb wins the rushing title. And again, these from Dog Pound Daily. And Brad, I think Nick Chubb will win the rushing title if he gets enough carries. I think if they give him enough carries, he's going to win the rushing title.
Yeah, it's all about game script. Like, if they're in games and they're in a neutral game script or ahead, he'll get enough opportunities. If they're losing a bunch of games down the stretch, then he won't win the rushing title because they're going to be forced to throw the ball all over the place. So really, I think it's that simple. It really depends on how well they play as a team. Actually, defensively, special teams, complementary football will give Chubb the chance to win the rushing title, because if you're ahead or in a neutral game script, then he's going to get the carries to win it.
Before I let you go, what do you think the Browns need to do coming out of the bye if they're going to get back into contention?
Well, you got to win 2 or 3, right? I think that you got to win 2 or 3 here. So that starts with Miami. You've got to beat Miami, because I don't think that you can count on beating the Bills. So it's got to be this one. Coming out of the bye, you have an advantage. You've had 2 weeks to prepare. You should have that edge as far as what you've seen on tape. Stefanski has been good in these type of situations. Scheme some stuff up, identify some weaknesses. There'll be a handful to stop, but it's a winnable game in my opinion. Their defense is a little banged up, although they did add Bradley Chubb, which doesn't help to their – yeah, right? I don't know if Jeff Wilson really changes much of what they do, but certainly Bradley Chubb changes who they are on the defense. But you got to get this one, right, to give yourself a chance to get 2 or 3. So I would focus on these next three, kind of section off the season as we've kind of been doing naturally already.
Yep, I agree. And don't think the Bills, everybody's beatable, but the Bills would be really tough. So you got to find a way to beat the Dolphins. You got to find a way to beat the Bucs. Then you're at 5-6. Watson comes back, and you're feeling a whole lot better about things because now you have a guy that can make a difference at the quarterback spot. Brad Ward, Orange and Brown Report, host of the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. As always, thanks so much for the time and the insight. Appreciate it, Brad.
Dave, you are the best, man. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you.
All right, Brad Ward. Make sure you check him out. Orange and Brown Report, All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, Lance Reisland with a breakdown of Sione Takitaki. He's played really well as a linebacker. We had the film breakdown with Lance Reisland straight ahead. Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery, Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
Sports4CLE continues. We continue talking Browns. We're going to do a little bit of video breakdown of linebacker Sione Takitaki. When we talk video, we welcome in Lance Reisland, plain dealer, as well as cleveland.com. You can check out his film breakdowns weekly. Lance, Sione Takitaki is a guy that after Jacob Phillips went down, after Anthony Walker went down, he's kind of made the most of his opportunities to get more and more snaps.
Well, yeah, first and foremost, I love his pace and his energy. He plays with great pace, great energy. He's a vocal guy out there. I really like that about him. He plays heavy. I really like him inside. I really haven't watched him too much inside. And he played a little bit more inside, obviously, this past Monday night. I love how heavy he plays. He anchors in there. He does not get moved vertically or horizontally. I think he might have found a home at the mic, in my opinion. He's pretty good inside.
Yeah, you're starting to sound and say things that the Browns are looking for. Guys that can, play well against the run, can play strong inside, don't get moved. Those are all boxes that you're looking to check if you're looking to shut down the run game.
Yeah, and some of his plays that I really liked from this past Monday were kind of plays that weren't, really spectacular. Just the idea of seeing that run game and moving forward. So he's always aggressive. He's very instinctual. So he sees that double team and he's moving forward, either taking that gap or sometimes taking on the double because that guard or center will get off on him. And he'll take that guy on and just kind of anchor in there. He plays with great leverage. He's 6'1", he's 230. He had 13 tackles the other night. A lot of those were in space, but some of his best plays were just kind of moving forward, which is kind of what I think the Browns need out of their middle linebacker.
All right, let's take a look at a couple of them. In this one, the coaching point that you saw here was the recognition. So tell us what you like, what we see here.
Well, you get zone coverage, and the Bengals really had trouble, as we all know, with pass protection. So I think he did a great job of recognizing he's the flat defender here. Bengals are going to swing the back here, mixing out to the flat here. And he just does a really good job of recognizing the route. And him and the rest of his teammates, they did a really good job of tackling in space. That's a play that's That's Joe Mixon. He's a very good back. So I like the fact he recognizes you see a little picker out there by the inside receiver there trying to get him off his track. He just recognizes, sees what it is, and explodes to the football. And, a lot of this is instinctual, and he does a really, really good job, and I'll keep saying it, of moving forward, which I think is so important for a backer in the NFL.
Yeah, and as you look at that, there's nobody there. If he doesn't make that tackle, that's another 5, 6, 8 yards. So, again, recognition. You talk about him being instinctual. This next thing that we're going to kind of show a clip of are some of those instincts. So take us through what you see coaching-wise from his instincts here.
Well, I love this here. He's going to read the zone play, just a classic NFL zone play, and he is going to be the A-gap player. And when he sees that A-gap player, he's not going to allow that lineman to get off on him. He beats that lineman to the punch. And the only way you do that is by moving vertically. And if you move too much horizontally, that lineman makes for an easy cutback for that back. So he's going to see that double, and he is going to get downhill right now and attack the back. And I think this is what he does very well. This is instinctual. This is playmaking. This is something he does very well. He reads, depending on where the double's coming from, if it's a deuce by the guard and the tackle or an ace by the center and the guard, he's going to read to his gap responsibility. And when he sees that double, he's immediately getting downhill. This is a very good play by him.
And again, it's game against the Eagles, pretty good linemen. Eagles playing well. This is a preseason game, but again, you like seeing a guy that can beat the lineman and make the play, and that's what he showed there. You mentioned his instinct. Another thing that you talk about, and this is kind of often overlooked, are the feet of the guys, and that enables them to get in position to make the play. So the next clip we're going to take a look at are the feet. Tell us what you see in this.
Well, the Bengals are going to run a little high-low here with the inside receiver and outside receiver. The inside receiver is going to run like a 10-yard dig. Outside receiver is going to run like a 5-yard dig. So it's just a high-low read on Takitaki, and he's going to do a really good job of getting depth with his feet. And as he gets depth, that quarterback reads it correctly and checks it down to the underneath guy. He's very, once again, with his instincts and his ability to move, he makes the quarterback throw underneath and then reacts and comes up and makes a really good tackle in the open field. So again, kind of dictates what the quarterback's going to do, reacts and makes a great tackle.
And the other thing that we're seeing is he's making tackles especially in this Bengals game, in open space on guys that are tough to tackle. That should earn him more time on the field because of the problems the Browns have had before that Bengals game with tackling.
Yeah, he tackles very well, and he plays with great energy and passion. I think that was one of the key points that I was talking earlier today, is that he brings an energy to that defense that they've kind of been lacking in terms of a guy who is the guy who's going to get everybody going. So he's constantly playing with passion. He's a very good tackler. He recognizes things very well. He pulls the trigger. He's not waiting. So he makes a decision and he goes. And I think, when you wait, when your head's thinking, your feet aren't moving, and he does a very good job of reacting to what he's seeing in front of him.
All right, so we've taken a look at recognition, instincts, and feet. The missing part there is kind of the discipline. So this is one of the things that you're talking about with gap integrity. So let's take a look at this clip. Tell us what you like here.
So this is a very mediocre kind of 2-yard game for the Bengals. Doesn't look like much, but as you look at Takitaki here, he's going to read the double, and he's immediately going to take on that lineman. And when he takes on that lineman, it just kind of causes a pile. And he uses his hands very well when he gets to the line of scrimmage. He anchors in there into his A-gap, and he does not get moved. And Taven Bryan does a really good job in B-gap of trying to fight that double. By him fighting the double, it doesn't allow that guard to get off on Takitaki as fast as they want. And it's just a good team defense, kind of a boring play, but one of my favorite plays he made from the other night, because as you can see when the ball snapped, he's moving forward. And when you move forward, you don't get moved vertically and you don't get moved horizontally, which is very important for the Browns linebackers.
When you're talking about the Browns defensive tackles, is that what you're talking about with run fits as far as gap integrity, the defensive tackles and the linebackers, and the way they work together?
Yeah, so if you're getting a double team, you have to be able to fight that double team, and there's a bunch of different ways to do it. Take a knee, turn, fight with the hip, and it is taught differently. But you have to fight that double team and make them stay on the double as a defensive lineman. So in this particular play, Taven Bryan is the B gap player, and Takitaki's the A gap player, and they have to maintain their gap integrity. So Taven Bryan can't get driven out and make that A gap real big for Takitaki, because then it makes it tough for the linebacker. So again, good gap integrity, good gap sound defense. It's almost boring, but it's what stops the run in terms of everybody in control of their gap.
The other thing, and you mentioned Takitaki he seems to come up with some splash plays as well. We've focused more on kind of the nuts and bolts of him playing linebacker. People have talked about his versatility. He's a guy that it looks like they can move around. Right now, though, they really do need somebody that can play that middle linebacker, that Mike linebacker.
Yeah, he's very versatile. So he's played inside, he's played outside. I like his versatility. His physicality the other night was very impressive to me. Like I said, attacking those double teams. Obviously, he tackles well in space. I think his recognition. I think he must be a very good film watcher because he understands route concepts. He's had some big interceptions. Some big tackles for loss. He understands back out of the backfield. Again, that's all film study for me, and he seems to do that very well. He's very knowledgeable. He plays with a lot of passion. So not only does he bring his physical tools to the Browns, but he brings that energy, which I think the Browns need.
Lance Reisland, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Lance.
As always, thanks for having me.
All right, Lance Reisland, make sure you check out his film breakdowns, cleveland.com. You can also check them out at pages of The Plain Dealer. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we take a look at our shining star for this week, Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery, Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
Sports for CLE continues. We turn our attention to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They will play tonight in Detroit, then head west. Cavs dropped the opener in Toronto, went on a 6-game winning streak. They're starting to turn some heads in NBA circles. Listen to Kirk Goldsberry. He is the former lead analyst for Team USA. This is from the Hoop Collective podcast.
I was already in, and then they add Donovan Mitchell, who couldn't have had a better start to this season. And he looks like a scoring title contender. And he gives this team exactly what they didn't have in late game situations last year, which is a dude who can take the steering wheel in clutch time and go get a bucket. And he's been outstanding. And it looks like, there's always a little uncertainty with these chemistries of these new teams. It looks like through the first 6 games that they are meshing very well. Credit to the coaching staff. But if everybody stays healthy, look, I think they're a legitimate finals contender. I think they could win the Eastern Conference. I don't think I'd pick them to win the East, but that's how much respect I have for them on both sides of the court right now. And I'd love to hear what you guys think, but I think the Donovan Mitchell acquisition is one of the best acquisitions we've seen in the league in recent years.
And again, that's Kirk Goldsberry, former lead analyst for USA Basketball. He was also part of the San Antonio Spurs front office as an analyst. So pretty good insight how the Cavs are being viewed across the NBA. Important to note, they'll have a pretty tough road trip. It'll be interesting to see how the young guys handle this. They're in Detroit, then they have stops against the Lakers and Clippers, and they'll also play the Golden State Warriors. So let's see how they do out west. You want a successful road trip to continue to build the momentum, but boy, things have started out really well for the Cavs this NBA season. All right, before we go, each week in conjunction with the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program, we recognize a role model student from somewhere across the state of Ohio. Today, we head to Hudson High School. We're going to meet a senior, Jagger Pelay, quarterback for the Explorers' currently unbeaten football team, as well as a guy that gets it done in the classroom. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program is proud to salute Jagger Pelay from Hudson High School, this week's Shining Star. The Hudson Explorers, like any team that's undefeated and in the regional quarterfinal round of the state football playoffs, are getting good play from their senior quarterback, Jagger Pelay. The numbers running and passing the ball are really good for Pelay, but they don't tell the whole story.
I would say just being a leader, just lifting up guys when something goes wrong and praising them when things go right. And I think another important thing is not getting too high or too low during games, because when that happens, bad things can happen. So I'd say just being a leader and not getting too high or too low.
His accuracy is awesome. That comes from just hours and hours and hours of work. And then you saw his arm tonight, just launching the ball at times. And, what I like most about him on this team is he has so much fun playing out there. It's like this is truly a game for him, and he goes and he has fun.
The Explorers like to run the football, but trying to force Hudson to throw hasn't been a good idea for opponents. Pelay has completed 67% of his passes with 15 touchdowns.
I feel like ever since I was a kid, I've always loved throwing on the run. It's just, I mean, it's hard to explain. It's just like you're outside the pocket and you have a whole vision of the field, and when you're running two receivers and they're running back to you, it's easy to turn your shoulder and just put it on target. I don't have any success without any of the guys on this team, but I'd say I'm doing well of putting the ball on target, and I think when I put the ball on target and you get it to those athletes out there, it's just anything can happen. So as long as I'm accurate and I can give it to those guys, then they can make plays and we can win games.
He's a competitor. He's studies the game. Like, he watches a ton of film, and he's incredibly coachable. And then you pair that with his athletic ability. He's kind of like slippery back there, and with him paired up with our offensive line and our running back Ludwig, like, it's fun to watch them work back there and work off of each other.
Even though he isn't the biggest guy on the field, Pelay is more than willing to run the football and is called to do so to make the Explorers offense go.
I think it's just putting my body on the line for the team. I mean, all we want to do is win, and all we want to do is play well for the team. And when it's a design run, I really just put my body out there and try to get as many yards as I can, because I love the O-line, I love everybody, and I want to do well.
He's old school when it comes to just being a competitor and wanting to play and anything. Like, he wants to win that, but he's really jovial, always got a smile, always looks on the bright side, and then he's really, really smart. Like, he understands the game of football. He understands it's not easy to have your brother as your position coach, your older brother, and that's the situation. And he takes the coaching. He respects everybody. So it just speaks a lot to his character. Like, he knows his role, and he's gonna just try to master it. And then off the field, he's just a fun kid. Likes to compete.
That same competitive nature comes out in a good way academically. Pelay likes the sciences. He's a solid B student who knows the importance of his education and grades.
They're super important. I mean, you have to try and hard in the classroom, and study and all that. And I'm not 100% sure on what I'm going to do yet, but I think I want to go do something in like the medical field. My brother is studying to be a nurse, so maybe I follow his footsteps or do a little something different in the medical field, but I think I want to do something there. I love helping other people, so it's like if I can get that chance every day in my life to help other people, then that's really what I want to do.
He's got a level head. He knows when to say things and maybe sometimes when to let guys get it out, you know. But in practice, he's the guy. He pushes the tempo. He gets the signal. He's the one clapping and getting things working. So like, and then in what you don't see behind the scenes, he's good friends with like all those guys. Like nobody can say a bad word about Jagger. He's there for everything. He'll be the last guy picking up trash in the locker room. He's the first guy in there, you know, regardless of if he had a gig last night or not. But no, he's a fantastic leader.
If you know a student who deserves recognition, we want to hear about them, and you can nominate them completely online. Go to OhioLottery.com. Find the About section. Click on Partners in Education. There you will see links to nomination forms. Nominate that student as an academic all-star, and they could end up being featured as our next shining star. Well done, Jagger Pelay. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here Monday at 4 o'clock. Remember, Browns on a bye, so Monday, preparation for Dolphins week gets underway. We'll also talk some Cavs as they have a game tonight against the Pistons, also another game over the weekend, all Monday at 4. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you Monday at 4 on Sports for CLE.